Oh, good.
We're going chasing.
Hello there, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Hello now, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Now, we have a lot on the agenda, lads, so we'll cut the chase and get straight down to the business.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of We're Going Chasing. We're back with our usual Monday club slot. We were a small bit quiet over the last week or so. I suppose we were very busy over Christmas. We had a video out for each of the 4 days racing, and we were probably a small bit slow getting going again. We were over at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, so we were going away early last week. Had a great time over there. Suffering with a bit of a flu since, and only coming back around there in the last couple of days. But Cillian, you enjoyed Cheltenham yourself, Anna?
I did, yeah. Any day Bob Ollinger wins is a good day for racing. It's a good day to be alive. So, yeah, it was an awesome performance from him. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, Cheltenham. It was a weird Cheltenham over New Year's Eve. Like the usual, some of the usual spots were closed, and we ended up being in 131 for most of the night, and ended up obviously went to Pop World. There was a weird clientele there. There was a rough crowd, I'd say. Not the usual crowd you get in Pop World the week of the races, but yeah, it was still a good crack though.
I've never been there now the week of the races, so I had to take
You
your
were
word
there,
on that.
were you not there the Friday last year?
No,
Where'd you go?
I don't know where. I wasn't in Pop World, Anna.
You sure?
Yep, absolutely sure.
2 Jaeger bombs for £6. You can't beat it, like really. We
No,
drank enough of them as well.
You can't beat it. Right, we'll get straight into it because there's a lot to get through. Basically, from here on in, we're going to be focusing a lot on Cheltenham. Most of the horses we're going to be talking about, we did the same last year. Once the turn of Christmas came, we became very Cheltenham focused, and the horses we're talking about are all with a view to Cheltenham. Now, we've obviously got the Dublin Racing Festival between now and then, which will be well taken care of as well. But that's probably, it's a month away, and we'll wait until we get entries and declarations and that before we really focus on that. But we'll probably do an anti-post video for that as well once we get those entries, Cillian, and once markets become available. But we'll crack straight on into it. And the top horse on my list here, Cillian, is Il Francais. And he was superb. For a novice chaser to go out and do that from the front, the way he jumped was superb. Pinged one, pinged them one after the next. Didn't break stride. And a horse I like back in second, Hermes Allen, I was waiting for him to be stepped up to 3 miles, and I thought that he'd improve a lot for the 3 miles. Looking on Racing Post ratings, it's 155. It's the same as his last time that he won in a grade 2. But I just think that Il Francais was just so good. I wouldn't even write off Hermes Allen or anything of that sort whatsoever. Just yet. I do still think that he's a very good horse. But it's all about Il Francais really, Cillian.
Yeah, it was a disgrace really what he did. Like, I never seen anything like it. From a novice anywhere really. What he was able to just stands off the fences and absolutely pings them. I'm trying to find it here. That racing IQ. I know you don't believe in it because it's statistics, obviously, but yeah, they think they had the lengths gained from him. It could have been like 20 something, I think, which is ridiculous. Like, I think he only made one mistake. There's like, it might be like 5 or 6 out where he stood at the wings of the fence and absolutely pinged it. I'll put up the photo of it here. But yeah, he's a disgusting horse, and hopefully, like, it doesn't look like he's going to go to Cheltenham. I think that's the right decision. Like, the French Gold Cup is way better than that. It's worth about 5 times the Brown advisory. Like, if he was to go to Cheltenham, you'd be asking him to go to the Gold Cup, and it's a pretty steep task for a horse that young. He's in your 10 to follow though, so well done on picking that.
Yeah, he is indeed in my 10 to follow, and I'm just smiling there. You call him a disgusting horse. You haven't learnt your lessons. Over the Christmas, there was a bit of a spat on Twitter, or one-sided spat on Twitter that we might mention later on. But yeah, obviously you're digging in your heels and you're calling horses what you want. But I know obviously you mean disgusting in a good way. Because he was superb. But next on the list is Hewick. And what a story this is. I don't know what he cost. Um, I'm
I
not sure.
I don't
Uh,
know where they bought him either.
yeah, I
It's
I I
I
think
think
it could have been
I'm going to
800.
take a stab. Was it Gore's Bridge for 800 quid?
I was it.
I think
That's
it could have been
I
Gore's
think
Bridge
I
for 800 quid.
yeah I think that's what I heard. Well, I actually heard. I think Shark was walking out of the sales, and then did he see the horse and did he go back in?
That's very possible. I've never heard that before, but I think it
I
is possible. Yeah,
yeah, no, that I think that's what I heard. He was on his way out and
yeah,
he spotted the horse and wow, he says, and he went back in.
yeah,
But I know it's savage, and we're huge fans of Hewitt and huge fans of the Shark on this podcast. And he just stayed on supremely well. Like even Gavin Sheehan was saying that if it wasn't the King George, he was going to be pulling them up. Really, like he was looking detached and he was looking well out of it. But you could see turning into the home straight. My father was actually watching it with my father, and he said it to me when once they turned into the home straight. He said, "Watch Hewitt," and you could see he was running on a bit, and then he just really got into a rhythm and stayed on very well. Would he have bet Shishkin? Probably not. But you need to make your own luck. You know, you still need to be there to win the race, and super stuff, Killian.
yeah. It was. I was having a pretty good day, Stevens's day, and I sort of fancied Hewitt. End up with a nice bet on him. And I was saying after they were out the back on the second circuit, I said, "Oh fuck it, Hewitt is bet here." I said I wouldn't mind seeing Brave Man's game winning to sort of boost that gentleman's game form for me. And coming then into the home straight, I was like sort of shouting on Brave Man's game a bit, and then I see them coming when Shishkin came down. I sort of see Hewitt staying on, and like he jumped really bad in the early part of the race as well. That was nearly the most alarming thing because he's usually a pretty good jumper, and
Yeah,
like for a horse that didn't jump and didn't travel and to do what he did, it was a fair performance now. Um, and that was his first run since the Galway plate, and he's going straight to Cheltenham. So like he was running a really good race last year, when he came down. So like I think if he got good ground, he'd definitely hit the frame. Can't see him beating Gallopin Deschamps. Can't really see anything beating Gallopin Deschamps, to be honest. But it was a
no,
fair performance, and like for a small trainer like Shark to win the King George, it's a very impressive feat. And like the route he's gone with Hewitt, it hasn't been the most conventional, and it's like to go from the Galway Plate to the Kerry National America Gold Cup, a tie, back to the Galway Plate under 167. Like it's the path less traveled anyway from the Shark, and you've got to hand it to him. It's very good race planning, and he's won a lot of big pots.
yeah, yeah, he has indeed, and it's a brilliant story, and long may it continue. Another horse who really was very impressive, and he's taken maybe a small bit of time to get going this year, and a small bit of time for them to figure him out. But King of Kingsfield eventually shed his maiden tag on his fourth run over hurdles at Leopardstown, beating Mirazor West by 6 lengths. And he's 20-1 now for the Supreme, Killian. And in what's is looking a very open Supreme at the moment, to be honest with you. For an improving horse like King of Kingsfield, I don't know if I'd be completely put off him.
No, I wouldn't be completely put off him, but I just I think he needs to be dropped on the line. Um, like a strongly run Supreme, would he really get there? I don't know. He was given an unbelievable ride, I thought, in the Royal Bond, and like if he won that, it was going to be a ride of the year from Jordan Gainford in my eyes. But yeah, he definitely improved from the last day. I think Mirazur West was just a complete monkey on the day. He was jumping out to his right. He was really keen, and in fairness, Jack really picked up the piece as well and ran on well to the line. Um, yeah, I suppose being the last twice being ridden differently has definitely unlocked a lot of improvement to him. But I still think that the horse that beat him in Naas, Slade Steel, like if he stepped back to 2 miles, like he could really unmuddy the waters in a supreme picture in my eyes anyway, just the way he did it in Naas and how good he was in Navan as well over 2.5. He'd have no problem going back and trip back to 2 miles. I think he could be a one if he was to run at the DRF over 2 miles. That race might be there for the taking. Like Farron
Yeah.
Glory was running a really good race. He was franking the Royal Bond form over an Aintree when he came down, and he was definitely going to win that race. There's no
Yeah.
doubt of that. So
Who
yeah,
who King of Kingsfield would remind me a small bit for the same owner, same trainer, same connections is Abacadabras. Who was obviously second in a Supreme. He had probably a bit better form now going into it, but similar sort of horse comes at one run, has to be delivered late. And he was just bet ahead by Shishkin. But look, it remains to be seen where his ceiling is. But it'll be interesting now. I'm sure he'll go to the Dublin Racing Festival. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets on there. We had on Stevenson's day as well, we had the Grade 2 juvenile hurdle at Leopardstown. Cala Conti won and stayed on very well and beaten Carguess by 3/4 of a length. Now that was Carguess's first run in Ireland for Willie Mullins and Kenny Alexander. He had 3 runs in France, included a graded win, and I thought that she was quite taken, really, given £3 to Calacanti, made a couple of mistakes, was a bit keen, and she should come on an awful lot for that run. 2 very good horses, I'd imagine, and they'll be towards the top of this division, no doubt, in March. But I don't have the betting in front of me, but I'd probably side with Carguess over Calacanti at the moment, Killian.
yeah, I'd agree with you. I think Carguess, she was very keen in the race, and I think she did well to be as close to Caliconte as she was for a finish. Like she'd sort of remind you a small bit about Gallimar, so I'd say she definitely stay further. But the horse in third, I've been told I've been pronouncing this wrong for ages. Nürburgring or whatever that's called. Joseph's horse. Like he was giving Caliconte £10, so he was £3 wrong, and got beat 3/4 of a length. So he's run a really good race as well. I think the big disappointment was probably Mighty Bandit. He's supposed to be Gordon's best chance of a winner all Christmas. Now Gordon had plenty of winners, including Caliconte, but it's disappointing to see Mighty Bandit get beat as easily as he was. But yeah, the top two, if you actually watch the replay, you can see how far they pulled clear. They go about 2 furlongs out again. Then the rest of them
Yeah.
just stopped, and the two of them didn't. So I'd say like in terms of that they're two very strong stayers, and they both have no problem at a 2.5 mile trip in time. But yeah, I'd say the two of them will take close order now in the
Yeah.
Triumph Hurdle. But there's a lot of really good horses in it. I know we'll touch on one or two more further down the line, but like you've got the English horse Sergino then as well, Stormheart, Bunting, Cargies, Caliconte. You've Salvatore Mundi hasn't come out yet. You've the
Mm.
Gary Moore horse, the one over in Chepstow on the 27th as well. So it's looking, it could be actually a very good Triumph Hurdle this year, I think.
Yeah, and just looking at the prices there, Calicanti is about 14 to 1, and to be honest, Carguess is about 14 to 1 as well, 12 to
Yeah,
1
I'd
in
I'd
shots,
go
10
with
to 1 in
Carguess if
places.
they
But
met again though.
yeah, Carguess is a good price too at 14 to 1. I would have thought she
Yeah.
would have been a bit shorter than that. Um, Moving on from there, then we had Marine Nationale, superb performance. I don't think there's too much to be said on it, apart from the fact he jumped brilliantly, didn't put a foot wrong, did everything you'd expect him to do, was as impressive a chase debut as we've seen this year, I think. And he's going to be very short for the Arkle, and barring something going wrong or something out of the ordinary happening, he looks at this stage as if he'll be going and winning it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking 4 to 5. Like
No.
I'd wonder how short he could go on the day. I just think because of the fact that I know it's a Supreme winner, but the fact that it's Barry Connell training it, it's not going to go off ridiculous short on the day. But yeah, the tongue tie and having got a wind up in the summer would be a small concern going forward. But he's miles better than anything in the 2 mile division that we've seen. Like obviously you're in the pocket, and Indiana Dream now are out for the season. Facile Vega is a busted flush at this level at that trip. So I'd say he will win the Arkle.
Yeah. And then another 2 mile chaser, but this time an open company, a horse is improving and improving and improving, is Dino Blue. Won a grade 1 at Leopardstown over the Christmas. Very impressively, bet gentleman to me. Captain Guinness very disappointing back in fifth, pulled up even. But Dinah Blue, it'll be interesting to see where she goes at Cheltenham. Like if she was to go to the Dublin Racing Festival and win another Grade 1, you nearly have to go down the Arkle route.
Well, she's
Now,
not a novice. Champion chase route, though,
or
yeah.
the champion
Yeah,
chase,
yeah.
apologies. Yeah. You'd nearly have to go down the champion chase route with her. Now, if she doesn't win, there's probably a straightforward decision then. Mayor's Chase.
Yeah, but who's going to beat her at the Dublin Racing Festival?
I would say Gentleman to Me.
Is he going to reverse 7 lengths?
I'd say so, yeah.
Do you reckon? Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah, I
couldn't
do,
see
yeah.
it. No
Would you
chance.
not?
No way he beats her. No, no.
I think there's every chance Gentleman to Me reverses that form, to be honest with you. That's you said it before and I've said it before, it's his time of year, that spring ground.
Yeah.
You mightn't be confident on the 7 lengths. I would be, to be honest, like you would get an each way price and we'll be talking about it on our anti-post whenever the markets
Will
are
you
out.
get an each way price though? Like, there's who's going to be in it? Like the 5 that ran there. There's
Yeah.
no chance. There's Dysart Dynamo. There's no point running him in Grade 1s. San Roy, he's probably going to go. He might run it, but he'll be out the back. Like Captain Guinness, I'm sure run. I think the ground definitely went against him, and he was clinically abnormal after the race. Whatever the issue was, I don't know, but the ground was way too soft for him. That like, and something obviously went wrong because that's not his running. Like I don't think he'd have beaten her anyway though. She was so impressive. I'd say he'd have split her and Gentleman to Me.
Yeah, yeah, possibly, possibly. I would be quite keen on Gentleman to Me anyway. Going forward, we also had Caldwell Potter winning a Grade 1 at Leopardstown, and what damn Matney is. Matney has produced like great horses. So like just looking at it there, Caldwell Potter, Grade 1 winner, Mighty Potter, Grade 1 winner, French Dynamite, top class horse, Indiana Jones, good horse too, and then Brighter Days Ahead, who you've tipped up for the Mayor's Novice as well and has been having
I
a great
haven't,
season
but
so far.
I will next week. Thanks
Or
for
hang
breaking
on.
the news.
I thought we had done that video because I've heard you speak so much about her.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's next week.
Yet to come.
Thank you.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
But yeah, like the ground was probably key to Caldwell Potter. You'd imagine that that heavy ground, maybe it's a possibility Caldwell Potter could go sort of on a nicer ground too. But I'd say that ground was to the detriment of a lot of others in the race. Down memory lane, Daddy Longlegs, the big Dian doesn't go on it either. So yeah, good race, Gillian.
Yeah, well, that dam is unbelievable. Like they've all 5 that have ran on the track now are all graded winners, which is an unbelievable feat. Unfortunately, Mighty Potter's not with us anymore. He won multiple Grade 1s. French Dynamite, Indiana Jones, Grade 3 winners. Brighter Days Ahead is a Grade 3 winner as well. And then you've Caldwell Potter. Yeah, they all go better. They all go well on better ground as well.
Mm,
So there's every chance Caldwell Potter would be a better horse on better ground. You look back to his maiden hurdle, he got beaten by It's For Me by a length and a half, and like I thought It's For Me had a bit in hand that day as well. So
mm,
you'd like to see him come out again. He could be one of Willie's better novices over 2 miles. Maybe it could be a Moscow flyer for him. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, you've got to hand it to Colin Potter now. It was a very good performance, but the ground definitely, like the top horses that ran that race, the likes of Down Memory Lane and Daddy Longlegs, they're better than what they showed. It was the ground that went against them there.
Yeah, and then we had Nassalam as well winning the Car Welsh National. Is rated 161 now. Obviously just love that test of stamina. Glenn Kerrigan, who we spoke about in the podcast a few times, was picked 2 horses for the race, and one of them was Nassalam. He said that Nassalam could actually just make a joke of the race. I think to quote before the race is what he said, and I can't remember the other one or where he finished, but
I Will Do It, was it? Was he third?
was it?
I think it was.
But look, Naslin very good. Probably, I don't know if he win much off 161 now. Really, he was pushed out probably too much by Caelan Quinn, who was riding him, and he was fairly drove into the last and the second last too. You would have been a small bit worried if you had him backed. He certainly wasn't an economical ride, we'll say.
No, probably not. But like, geez, what he did now was fair impressive, and like he's improving all the time. He won the Welsh national trial as well back at the start of December in Chepstow, and like he'd ran well in the Grand Sefton beforehand. So he is sort of improving with every run. I'd say they probably nearly have to run him in the Gold Cup now. They entered him like maybe the Gold Cup and the national. Uh, Hard to see him
Is
win a
there any
national
point?
off 161, but he's entitled to run the Gold Cup now off that. Native River did
Yeah,
the won a Welsh national and improved on to be a Gold Cup horse. So maybe this lad will too. He's still only 7, like he's a very young horse. Like
yeah.
he's had plenty of runs, but he is still a young horse and he's obviously improving now this season. So I wouldn't like sure if you got bad ground the day of the Gold Cup on the Friday, he could be staying on.
Yeah, well, you'd need every bit of it really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't myself be really thinking of a Gold Cup route with him. I wouldn't see the point. Indeed, if it came up very soft,
Jimber
he
the
might,
Native
he
River
might.
might bite Gold Cup like.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
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 yeah. Like that. If it came up like that, he could easily hit the frame like.
yeah. He could maybe get third or fourth if it came up like
Yeah.
that. Even at that, I'd probably be a small bit surprised. To be honest with you, Jade de Grugy was extremely well backed at Leopardstown as well. For Willie Mullins and Paul Townend, and bet Butcher Hollow by 15 lengths. Very impressive in what she did. And another nice mare there for Kenny Alexander.
Yeah, he just buys Savage Mares, doesn't he? It's
Mm,
just
yeah.
he's very good with them. Yeah, she was very, very good now. I'd say she is slow though. She probably like Mares novice. I wouldn't say would completely suit her. Like she's won over 2.5 miles on heavy. Going back to 2 miles even on the new course, I wouldn't imagine that'd be really her cup of tea. I'd say she's a chaser down the line as well. So
Mm,
they probably might mind or might wait for Fairy House there. I don't know. They probably would go to Cheltenham like, but I'd say maybe she could be more of a one for Fairy House. Like Butcher Hollow's a pretty good horse. Was back in
mm,
second. He's beaten by the Bective stud horse that had an entry in the Lawlers as well up in Navan, Gigaro. I'd say he's nice as well. So yeah, he's bumped into a couple of nice ones now, unfortunately for him. But I'd say like he was very impressive winning his bumper in Galway, beating the other Mozzie who came out and won a maiden hurdle on Stevens's day. Um, so I'd say like he's probably getting mark in the 120s with another runner. So and maybe he'll be one for a handicap in the spring.
yeah. There's a lot to get through here, Killian. So I'm going to
Yeah.
keep on moving. Irish Point is the next one there. Won the Jack de Brahma Christmas Hurdle by 11 lengths, beating Asterion Furlonge. Another horse who was very, very well backed on the day. Went in as short as 4 to 5 or 11 to 8 on before going off even money. The one I fancied for the race and I quite liked him really was Home by the Lee. And he was very disappointing, really. They sort of I know he ran from the front at Navan last time out, but it was a changing tactics from, we'll say, when he won it last year, in terms of trying to do it from the front. But I don't think that mattered really. I don't think anything they did mattered. Irish Point won by so far. Whatever way they ridden him, it wouldn't have mattered. And Irish Point could have won by more even if he wanted, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now Rob are left with the dilemma of what to do for the stairs hurdle because they've got Irish Point there, they've got Chupu who's there. People were talking about Bob Ollinger too, but he's not. He's not one for that race. I'd be quite sure about it. So you've got them two horses. Do you run both of them? Do you run one of them? What do you do? Chupu's definitely run anyway, surely.
Yeah, like if half the racing public think it's a foregone conclusion that the French horse comes over and beats everything anyway. Chupu's definitely improved from last year. Going there fresh, it'll make him an even better chance of winning. Like he was effectively second in the race last year, and probably should have won it. Mightn't have got the best ride in the world. But yeah, I think there's every chance Irish Point is as good, if not better than Tupu. The one thing is that like it was a very slowly run race here. in Leopardstown. It mightn't have been the real in gallop you might see in the stairs sometimes, especially if Florian Porter comes back from fences and runs in that, which I think he will. By all accounts, like Ballyadam came third. Ballyadam hardly gets 2 miles. It was bizarre seeing Ballyadam on the bridle basically coming to the last.
Yeah.
Geez, what's going on here? But I sure he was just trying to hold. She was trying to hold on to him for as long as possible. It's a very good ride from Rachel there to come third in a Grade One with that horse. To be honest, I would have said that was never going to happen again. But yeah, I think Irish Point, he'd have a good chance in the stairs. I think even in a strongly run race, he'd still stay. He's one of those horses, he could do it over 2.5, 3. I don't think the distance matters. I think he's mightn't be a Grade One horse over 2 miles, but he's definitely still a Grade Two, Grade Three horse easily over 2 miles, especially on bad ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably run the two of them. Irish Point could go to Aintree and Punchestown if you wanted then as well, or Teahupoo could go to Punchestown. The other leg can go to Aintree. I think Irish Point's very durable. Like he ran a lot last year.
I
He could
did, yeah.
easily run all them, run a lot of races again. So he could easily run even before Cheltenham again, I'd say.
Yep. And then Galloping the Champs, superb. But and I'd love to hear somebody like Ruby Walsh's thoughts on it. Probably on the road to Cheltenham or that. I don't know if they've had a road to Cheltenham since Christmas, have they?
They have, yeah.
And did they speak about Galloping the Champs much? I'm sure they did.
They did, yeah.
Did you see it?
I did, yeah. You
Um,
run out of superlatives to describe him.
Yeah, and what about going forward? Because my thinking on it really, but somebody like Ruby Walsh should be much better placed now to give an opinion on it. Would be like we hear so much about how much Gold Cups take out of horses, how hard it is on horses. The fact that he went to the Gold Cup last year, won it, ran to a superb standard, and now he's after coming back and doing that at Leopardstown. Which was just as good, if not better, like beating Jerry Cologne by 23 lengths. The fact he's after reaching that level already this season, I would think that it would be very hard for that horse to be hitting that level again in 3 months' time. Like how many big runs like that do horses have in them? Now I could be talking pure waffle, but I'd love to, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it as we get closer to the Gold Cup, and we'll hear more from Ruby Walsh's perspective on it, which I'd be quite interested to hear. But that's just one worry that I'd have for him going forward. Now he could probably, run to a lower level and still win. That's the other side of it.
I'd say the biggest change in Galloping the Champ from the two runs where Fast or Slow beat him to this run was the change in tactics.
Yeah,
So if you go back to Galloping the Champ, beginner's chase in Leopardstown, you talked about Marine National, what he did in his beginners. The most impressive beginner's chase performance I've ever seen was Galloping the Champ in Leopardstown, Christmas 2 years ago. What he did to Ain't That a Shame, Blue Sarre, Flyer, Cross Hill, won by about 25 lengths, just made all, absolutely pinged them. It was a ridiculous performance from a horse having his first start over fences, and like he backed that up again in the Turners with what he did to Bob Ollinger. Like you saw Bob Ollinger in his Ballymore, you saw him over fences before that. He mightn't have been the most natural jumper, but he'd a huge engine. And Galloping Deschamps absolutely battered him into the ground, really. And like he was hosing up. He was going to win by 20 lengths. It was going to be the greatest performance ever by a novice, I'd say, if he stood up. Um, and like that was a ridiculous performance. And even going back to the Gold Cup last year, like he was held up. And if they did it on that again, you won't like it. But the racing IQ, they did the lengths lost, gained, and he lost out to Brave Man's Game in the jumping stakes across the race. But like, is Galloping Deschamps a bad jumper? I wouldn't say so. But when they reverted him back to these sort of hold up tactics, he doesn't seem to attack his fences as much. And if you look at his performances against Fast or Slow, like the one in Punchestown, he got a racing post rating of 172. He got 159 in the John Durkin. Like that's lower than his beginner's chase. Like it was a stinking run, really, from him, and
yeah.
he jumped really bad, but he was held up. So when they brought him back up and he was handy and he attacked his fences, he's a completely different horse, and he was taking lengths out of the field instead of losing lengths to the field. And there is no way Fast or Slow, if he's ridden forward, ever beats Galloping the Champ again. And anyone that wants to have a bet with me can, no problem, because that won't happen. Like what he did in the Savills was
Ever again now is a big statement, a
if
big
they
number.
ride him forward, He
Yeah,
can
yeah.
never lose to fast or slow again. Can't be done.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and like what he did to some really good horses in the Savills, like even going like Jerry Colombe is a multiple grade one winner. He's was the big hope for the Gold Cup. He's bet 23 lengths now. He will be closer to him in Cheltenham. Like the 3 mile 2 on the new track is going to suit him a lot better than Leopardstown would have. So like he will be closer. Like I am Maximus, Irish national winner, strong stair, bet 32 lengths, appreciated, going to a speed horse angle, hammered. Conflated was well beaten when he fell at the last. So like it was definitely a better performance, I thought, than what he did in the Gold Cup in March, and I don't think he'll have any problem backing it up. He's going to the DRF as well. He'll do the same in the DRF if he wants. If they ride him forward, he'll just do the same
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
did.
I'm surprised he's going there, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have said he'd go straight. He's
Yeah.
had 2 runs now, but again, like you have a horse like Gallopin de Champ, it's nearly the complete opposite to Constitution Hill. There's grade ones to be won, and why not win them all? And I'm sure if Willie had his time back and Paul Townend, they'd have ridden him forward in the Durkin and he'd have won that.
Yeah. Yeah, quite likely. And Willie, he took a small bit of time to get going really at Christmas. He had a poor Stevenson's day by his account, but towards the end of the week, he really was firing at all cylinders. On the 29th of December, the last day at Leopardstown, both Ballyburn and Grange Clare West were brilliant. Also, Ballyburn beating Cletus Poolaw by 25 lengths, and then Grange Clare West was very taken. And it's not a performance that I really saw coming from him. He sort of caught me a small bit by surprise. I didn't think that he had that level of form in him. But he made light work of Corbett's Cross, of Flooring Porter, and what was a small field, but did it as well as you could imagine, and is now into probably 6-1 for the RSA, is it?
You'll have to bear with me now. The Festival Novice Chase, I believe it's called, or the Brown
The
Advisor
Brown
Novice
Advisor,
Chase.
the RSA,
4-1 best price.
4-1 best price.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just looking at it there. It's a tricky
And
enough
that's
race.
actually with
Stay away Fave
bet
couldn't have.
MGM as well is
Yeah,
the best price. So
it was
um
7-2.
yeah, 7-2 is the best price. So yeah, if
Yeah.
that's very short.
Yeah, but like, who could you have there after him? Stay away, Faye. I know you like it, don't like him at all. Fact to File has been impressive too. It's wide open, really. It's not a race that I
Well,
have.
I wouldn't say it's wide open, but
Would you not?
he's definitely the standard bearer now, and he's well entitled to be the price he is. I think Stay Away Faye is the right second favorite. I'd say
Yeah,
Fact to File, get him another run into him, maybe in the Flow Gas. He could easily win that, and that'd leave him spot on to give it a good challenge. I'd say Corbett's Cross might be going down a handicap route. He seems to be drifting out. Monty Star as well, another one. He's a half brother to Monley. He's about 20-1, best price as well. So like he's another one that improved his first start to his second start over fences. He'd have to improve again to get to Grange Clare West level. And I'd say you're ready to rip up your betting slip on Flooring Porter.
probably not. Now, if he goes to the stairs, obviously, and I don't know, I don't have a real gauge on that at the moment, but like looking back at that race, I think he was obviously to move the rail out there the whole time at Leopardstown, but the 29th was the last of the 4 days, and he was on a bit of bad ground on the inside that had been used the day before. Now, you couldn't have him wider because he needs to have the rail up beside him. So he had to go on that bad ground. But the bad ground would have been a big negative for him as well. So I do think that he gets a small bit of a pass. I think he's better than what he's shown there. And I think if they go to Cheltenham fresh and the ground is nice, I still wouldn't put a line through him, and I'd love to see him still turn up in the RSA.
There's one of the best excuses ever used on this podcast. He was on the bad ground. The weather
He
wasn't
was.
suiting him. Like, oh come on.
He
He's just
was. He
not.
was on the. He was on the worst of it. He was on the worst of it.
Yeah, but he's just not a grade one horse over fences, I'd say. Is the real nooks of it, like he's grand over fences as all. I'd say he's definitely going to run in the stairs hurdle. When it was mentioned, I said, I actually heard about it maybe a month ago. I told you before you put up your bet for the RSA that I
Yeah,
heard
I didn't
he was
believe
going
you.
to run in the uh he was going to run the stairs. And I don't know why they were running over fences, just for the crack maybe, but just to get a win into him. But um he's going to run the stairs. I'd be
I'd still run the
99% sure.
RSA. He's got a better chance.
I don't think he does. I'd say he's a better chance in the stairs.
No,
Um
I disagree with you. I think he's been there and done the stairs, small bit below that level and that. But side novice chasing, not the best of feels. Like see what Grange Clare West did, but Grange Clare West, like how good of a horse is he too at the same time? You know, because he wasn't.
well, he's improved a lot over fences, like.
Well, he seems to have, but then again, like
No, he definitely has, like.
yeah, but then again, the race has probably fallen apart a small bit there too. Like you were talking about Corbett's Cross, looking at a handicap, Flooring Porter's on the back ground, so there's an excuse for that.
I'd say just
Grange Clare West has probably been overstated a small bit too, I'd
no,
imagine.
definitely not. I think Grange Clare West. The only reason we're talking about Corbett's Cross going to a handicap now is because of what Grange Clare West did to him.
Yeah.
I'll
Fair
give you
enough.
one thing though. The only thing you were right about was Flooring Porter reversing form with Favre de Champs.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But
Yeah. He did do that. He
um
did do that all right,
that's
just
about it.
about.
But Corbett's Cross, I'd say, the only because what Grange Clare West did and potentially Factifile being better than him, is the reason I'd say they could go down a handicap route with him.
Hmm. Maybe so, maybe so. We'll move on. State Man. I'd say he's up there. If he's not my favorite horse in training, he's in the top three. Boring, does everything right, wins races, jumps, can lead, can be dropped back in, can do whatever way you want, and he still come home in front, except for when he's against the great Constitution Hill, and I'm happy to leave him off on that. But I just love the horse.
Yeah, he's super. It was career best as well.
He's
Uh,
savage.
yeah,
I'd love to see him beat Constitution Hill.
I would as well. Yeah, I just well,
He deserves it.
he does. Yeah, he's a super horse. Like, yeah, you're obviously going to run him in the Champion Hurdle, and Nicky Henderson won't bring Constitution Hill to the Irish Champion Hurdle, so he get another Grade 1 in the Irish Champion Hurdle.
Do you reckon he won't bring him to the Irish Champion Hurdle?
In the DRF.
Or sorry, I'm
He
thinking
might bring him to the
Punchestown.
Punchestown
Yeah,
Champion
sorry,
Hurdle.
yeah,
Isn't a fucking notion of bringing him to the Irish
No,
Champion Hurdle.
no,
Do you
yeah,
think he'd
fair
give
enough.
that horse a hard race
No,
before Cheltenham?
no, he's
Or,
not. He's not.
no,
Yeah, no, I
he
was
should
thinking
though.
Punchestown.
Like, if we want Constitution Hill to go down as one of the greats, I said it, he has to come to Ireland, and not just Ireland. You could easily come to Punchestown, great. Like, but come in the middle of the season, like,
Yeah,
you know, that's when he should be coming, but he won't. So State Man will get another Grade 1 there, and there's every chance there's something happens to Constitution Hill. Oh, he won't come to Punchestown. We're decided to leave him off. We're going to go to Aintree instead. There's every chance that happens as well. But yeah, State Man, very, very impressive. And
yeah,
yeah,
I'd be very surprised if they went to Aintree with him this year. He
I would
wasn't.
as well.
It was its poorest effort probably by a long way.
It was actually the on ratings the effort at Kempton at Christmas was worse than Aintree.
Was it?
Yeah, but sure, he was just like he
Yeah,
wasn't even doing a half speed for a finish.
yeah. But like it was a big step below a lot of his form anyway.
Compared
And
to that season, yeah, it was
I
definitely worst of his last season. Yeah,
I think they'd be much happier taking on the horses that he's bet at Cheltenham over 2 miles in Punchestown rather than going up to 2.5 miles again and
yeah.
risking that.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, Bob Ollinger will be waiting for him anyway. So
Yeah, and Bob, I'd say over 2.5 miles. We'll get to Bob shortly enough. Actually, we'll talk about Bob now since he's after coming up because
okay, fair enough.
he's not too
Oh,
far away
you
from now.
twisted my arm.
But Bob was brilliant, and I was thinking about it coming home after. Like, what horse is there in training that would have beaten Bob over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham on New Year's Day?
Probably Constitution Hill.
Yeah,
A
but
State Man, maybe.
aside from Constitution Hill, I'd say none. I wouldn't as much as love Statement over 2.5 miles. I'd back Bob, considering that's probably his optimum trip. I'd back Bob, and I thought he was superb. And there really is there's very few horses that would beat him over 2.5 miles over hurdles.
Yeah, I agree with you. And he took a massive step up on Navan, and it's great to see him fully back as well. because that was a clear career best. Really, it was definitely a few pounds better than what he did in the Ballymore. So, you'd imagine now he'd go to 2.5 mile race in Aintree. I'd love to see him go to the Irish Champion Hurdle and take on Stateman and Imperial Pass over 2 miles. Because like after he won the Ballymore, I know you were definitely of the opinion that he could be a champion hurdle horse, and I'd say it was just unfortunate he was in the same yard as the champion hurdler, and that maybe he would have gone down that route at the time. But yeah, he hopefully I give him a chance. I just say you can have a run there in the Irish champion hurdle, and if you win, you win, and if you lose, there's no shame that you can still go to Aintree.
Yeah, yeah, very very true. And there'll be plenty of time there for him to totally freshen up there between the Irish Champion Hurdle and Entry.
Yeah, and if you win the
Um,
Irish champion hurdle, you take on the big dog.
yeah,
It'd
yeah,
be
and
it'd be poetic justice if Bob Allinger beat Constitution Hill in the champion hurdle. I don't think it'd happen, but it'd be great to see it. Like it'd be the greatest comeback in racing of all
it would
times.
it would be
It'd be like
unbelievable.
like Cashback beat him last January.
Yeah,
Like like Cashback, come on. In
yeah, yeah,
fairness.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
um
It's unreal, really.
it is
Um,
brilliant, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
taken a lot of work. You hear them all talking about it.
Yeah,
It hasn't been straightforward, but the horse is a lot of class, and it's finally coming back to the fore.
yeah.
Another interesting one that we had on New Year's Day was over at Tremor, Killian. The 10-year-old Jungle Boogie, a very lightly raced 10-year-old now, only his third start over fences, was previously with Willie Mullins, and he sickened Willie Mullins on New Year's Day in Tremor. Because he was 10 to 1, 10 to 1 shot, and he beat 5 to 2 on shot classic getaway for Willie Mullins with Danny Mullins on board. He had Bron back and forth. Manella Kroner came from miles back to finish third. But that was quite a taken performance from Jungle Boogie. His first run for Henry was over a trip far too short for him, really, over 2 miles. In with El Fabiolo and Fieldor and the likes. He was bet 14 lengths there, which in hindsight probably wasn't that bad of a run considering that, 2 miles isn't really his game. But that was quite a taken performance. He's rated 150 now, unchanged over fences. And it'll be interesting to see where they place him now, but he could have a handicap in him.
Yeah, he does. I'd say all credit to Darragh O'Keefe there. It was an unbelievable ride. Like when he was headed there, jumping the last, you said, "Oh, game over. Classic Getaway win this." Like Classic Getaway had put in a super performance up in Thurles to beat Hot on Clures and French Dynamite. So I would have said Classic Getaway hose in there, and he'd be a lively outsider for a Ryanair or potentially a Gold Cup. But all credit to Jungle Boogie. I'd say it was a sweet one for Darragh O'Keefe too. He'd no harm to give it back to Mullins. Um, and yeah, the horse has yeah, in hindsight, it actually wasn't a bad run over 2 miles against El Fabiolo, was it?
No, 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 not at all. Looking at the orange then, Killian, we don't have many horses in it, but one track that we do have in the orange is Naas. Things didn't really go to plan for him today. They gave the race card every chance of going ahead, had an inspection at about 7 o'clock, had another one at 9:30. It wasn't until about 11 o'clock or half 10, 11 o'clock where they actually finally gave the green light to go ahead. The first race went off with Daryl Jacob winning quite well on night and day. And so happens, as Tony Mullins pointed out shortly after on Twitter, Daryl Jacob went through the card at Naas because there was indeed no more races to be had. So Daryl Jacob has scooped up all the prize money on offer on the day. And there are a lot of people talking about it on Twitter, giving out, and it should have been called off, giving out about the integrity of racing, the fact that you couldn't see the fences, the fact for racing is a spectator sport, and people couldn't see it and whatnot. I don't know what take you have on it, Killian, but like in terms of racing being a spectator sport, what sport isn't a spectator sport? Would be my first question. Because I can't think of any non-spectator sport, so it doesn't really make sense to me, first of all. Second of all, yeah, you're talking about the spectators and the punters, and they're a huge stakeholder in racing. There's no racing without the punter, without the racing fans, etc., etc. But like it's not as if the punters and the race goers and the fans get a raw deal. They get a very good deal. They get a very good product and a product that they're very happy with. So what I'd say is on this given occasion, considering the elements, considering the weather that we have forecasted for the next 10 days, I'd be of the point of view that if racing was safe to go ahead, safe for horses and riders, and I'm not sure if that was the case, but if it was, then like the Lydia Hislop on Racing TV and anybody else who was going on Twitter about the fact it's not fair in the spectator, I think that's nonsense. I think if it's safe, it should have went ahead. And I don't know what bearing those external forces had on the final decision. Maybe it was a case that it was just unsafe, and then that's fair enough. That's what we go with. But I don't know what your take is on it, but it's a bit of a grey area. People are giving out. But look, it is what it is. We can't control the weather too much.
No, we can't control the weather at all. It's the first thing, unless we put a roof in it, and that'd cost a bit much. The lads are talking about it, the integrity of race, and it's like I saw someone on Twitter, and I won't mention any names, but he's probably the worst judge on race on Twitter, and he said that the integrity of racing, did they jump all the fences? If it was an English track, he wouldn't have mentioned that because he's vehemently anti-Irish. This person, so that's the first thing. So like there's no integrity breach here. Like you mean to tell me the jockeys didn't jump all the fences? Like what if some camera caught them, then they're all fucked. Like that just didn't happen. There's no way. And
Yeah.
that's the first thing. In terms of spectators, if that card was ran today and I was there, I'd be sort of sick. I would sort of want my money back. You generally have to refund anyone that was there because they couldn't see a thing bar from the last. I don't know, could you even, it'd say if you were standing at the bookie ring, I'm not even sure, could you see them at the last? You probably could, just about. You do have to refund everyone. So that's a disaster for the race course operationally. And then the last piece then is in terms of safety. They were safe in the first race. I listened to Daryl Jacob talking to Gary O'Brien, and he said that he could see fences 80 yards away,
Yeah.
but he had to ask Jack. Now, remember, bear in mind, Daryl Jacob is an English-based jockey. But he has ridden Naas any amount of times. He said that he had to ask Jack how many they had to jump at one stage, and he said he had to follow Paul and JJ Slevin. So like that's
Yeah.
not ideal. Obviously, we had a conditional jockeys race on the second last race of the card. A lot of them might be their first time, second time riding Naas, third time maybe. It might be more difficult for that. It's fine if you've got small fields and experienced jockeys, which you did have for the most part. But let's say now if Daryl Jacob wanted to make the running on that mare, he couldn't have. It wouldn't have been possible. So
Yeah.
it does cause into question that like if Daryl Jacob was on a front run and headstrong mare there that just pulled herself to the front, he was blind.
Yeah.
So it's probably safety wise, maybe it wasn't as safe as some of we'll say the Patrick Mullenses or Rubies were saying on racing TV before the first. I think it's good they've got to reschedule so quickly, and hopefully they can get a good crowd in because it is their biggest day of the year.
Yeah, well, just going back to your first point, in terms of having, if people were there, they might potentially be looking for a refund, and you'd have to refund everybody that was there, and you're saying there'd be an operational disaster for the course. That's what they've had to do anyway.
Oh
They've
yeah,
had
but at
to.
least people will come back to the rescheduled
Will
fixtures. Some
they?
will.
Will they on a Friday?
Well, some
I'm
will.
I'm not sure they will. Hospitality bookings will take an awful hit. I'm sure they would have been almost fully booked out hospitality wise for their feature day. So that would have taken an awful hit. A lot of them won't come back. They wouldn't have needed refunds because they still would have got their food served to them, their dinner, and they would have had a good day up in the hospitality setting there in this. It's very nice. So that's one thing on that. I think Naas Racecourse would much rather go ahead, and I don't know if you'd have to refund everybody, but if you did, I think they'd still rather go ahead, get their TV money, get their hospitality money, and then I'm not sure where you'd go with the tickets, but you wouldn't be losing money any because you only be refunding people, so you'd still be making money off your betting, off your television, and off your hospitality, and maybe something off your tickets, or you might do something there for race scores for the next time they come back to the track,
Yeah, the only thing is though, like
which is
I
probably what they would have done. Now, on your second point, with regards to jockeys and Daryl Jacob asking Jack Kennedy how many fences fences there was left to jump. I don't know how many fences there was at the time, if there was 5 or if there's 4, but if I was Jack Kennedy, I would have told him there was 1. I would have told him around the home straight. It's his business to ride his own horse, and he should know the course. Like, a monkey can count. You should know how many fences are to be jumped on a circuit. And as you jump a fence, you count 1 fence jumped, 2 fences jumped, 3 fences jumped. And then you know yourself in your own head how many more fences there are left to be jumped. So that doesn't wash with me either. He says himself on the interview after that he could see the fence from 80 yards away. That's enough for me. He can see the fence, he can jump it. Somebody else said on Twitter about ambulances not being able to see it. Again, if that was a case, that's a genuine reason to call off the race. Not sure if it was the case. But look, I don't think there's anything else to be said on it. Are you happy enough?
Yeah.
Okay. In the orange, not going chasing with Impera Passe.
Yeah, I'd say it was an error.
Probably was looking back on it, but he also won the Ballymore Ice. I would have said at the time about Bob Ollinger. He won the Ballymore like a champion hurdle horse. Impera Passe did the same. And the owners wanted to go hurdling, I think, wasn't it?
I
And
don't know. I'd say Willie just wanted 2 cracks at the other lad, and he was
yeah,
hoping this lad to be better. Like I said at the time, very hard for this lad to eclipse State Man. If he does, fair play to him, but it's going to be very difficult because State Man's a top horse, and he hasn't. He's 0 for 2 now. He's been beaten in 2 Grade 1s. Very hard to see him reverse with State Man at the DRF. Impossible to see him beat Constitution Hill. Maybe he goes up and trip to the entry hurdle, but then you have to go up against Bob Ollinger, who looks better than ever.
yeah.
I'd say if they went chasing, he'd end up in the Turners. You'd have Gaelic Warrior up at the RSA trip, and Willie'd be mob handled at those. And I'd say we'd be in a lot better position. But look, they didn't, so we'll have to see now how it happens. But
Yeah, we'll see what way it turns out. So moving on down then to the red, Killian. Top of the red, we've got Captain Guinness pulled up in a Grade 1. And Killian, you'll come up with excuses for him, and the vet has obviously come up. There was something there, and Captain Guinness is a much better horse than that, and it wasn't his true run, and I fully agree with you. But he's in the red because that was his best chance of winning a Grade 1, and it's probably very hard now to see him win another Grade 1 or win a Grade 1 in another race. That looked like his chance, and his chance is gone.
yeah, chance gone. 100% agree with you. I think obviously is something wrong with him, like, so that was unfortunate. But I'd say I still don't think he'd have beaten Dino Blue in that ground. Um, maybe on better ground he might have, but she was so impressive. Now I wouldn't have said even if something hadn't gone wrong with him that he could have beaten her. She was that good. I'd say he'd have been second again.
Yeah. And another 2 mile chaser in the red is Facile Vega. You've called him a mudlark on many occasions, and you've not been his biggest fan throughout his career, really. And you've always taken the angle that he is a bit of a mudlark, and you were really proven right over Christmas.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's number one. He's not a 2 miler,
Yeah,
and number two, he needs very soft ground to be seen at his best. Um, like go back to the beginner's chase, like a lot of people said In the Pocket wasn't off that day. Like it was heavy ground in Navan that day. Comes back to the Mudlark point. The ground was quick in Leopardstown on the 26th, and I don't know exactly what Patrick Mullins was doing on him. There was the Jack Kennedy's horse, the winner, found the 50 was jumping out to his right, but Facile Vega was lining up wide right on his outside, which I thought was bizarre. And he kept just jumping out, and he bringing Facile Vega out to the right as well. So he was losing ground out there. He switched back inside and got to the lead and just came to the last, and he was treading water.
mm,
And the three of them passed him. Even Sharjah passed him, like. And Sharjah had been disgraced in the in the Drinmore. This is the Sharjah, the 10-year-old Sharjah that's like really struggling the last sort of year, and just he's beaten him as well. So it's hard to know where to go now. Like there's no way in hell Facile Vega beats Marine National, and like there was a lot of people clinging on to the fact that Marine National mightn't be a good jumper, but Sam Curling said all this over the summer. He had him as a younger horse, and he's well able to jump a fence. Don't worry about it. Facile Vega just hasn't the speed to live with him, unless it came up bottomless now on the day the Arkle is be his only chance. But I'd imagine he'll go up and trip. Hard to see him beat Gaelic Warrior. I think
Mm,
Gaelic Warrior is just fundamentally a better horse than Facile Vega. So maybe it's hard to know what they're going to do. But yeah, he seems to be in bother now. He's sort of he's one you really have to steer clear of now, because you don't know what he's going to do. He
mm,
has bombed out a couple of times now. Like there was plenty of excuses made from in the DRF last year when he was absolutely hammered, having gone the clappers with high definition, and like he had no excuse really in the Supreme, and Marine National could have beaten him by double if he wanted to. I think the race in Punchestown was an absolute farce. The fact that they used Diverge as a pacemaker to set it up for him.
mm.
So yeah, I'd say he's a real steer clear now for me, to be honest. I don't know where he's going to go. Like
Yeah,
he's no doubt a Grade 1 horse at some trip, but
yeah.
what that is, I'm not sure.
Allegor de Vassy then was pummeled by Riviere de Tel at Fairyhouse. A bit the guts of, wow, it's 33 lengths. Now I know there was a small bit of a weight discrepancy there between the two horses, but Riviere de Tel is obviously a lot better going right-handed. But still a real turnip for the books.
Yeah, I couldn't have foreseen it, to be honest. Um, But yeah, Riviere de Tel was 7. I know you're a big fan of Riviere de Tel, but she was probably weighted to beat, was she? She
Not by 33 lengths, she
got
wasn't.
£8, was weighted to win, but not to win by that much, obviously. But you're a big fan of Riviere de Tel, but yeah, I couldn't have predicted now, to be honest. I would have said Allegor de Vassy might have just a bit too much class for her. But yeah, Riviere de Tel, obviously a different horse going right-handed rather than left.
Yeah. Then the Shallow Hurdle produced, I think, the worst ever race and post rating of the race, of a winner of the race. A race and post rating of 144. Captain Teague obviously won it. Captain Teague had a race and post rating of 143 when second at Cheltenham. Now, Killian, there was a small bit of trouble on Twitter because you were pointing out that the Captain Teague form wasn't Grade 1 form. You called Captain Teague a bit of a dog. And you pointed out that he wasn't, surely, you said it was the worst Grade 1 you've ever seen. Tongue in cheek a small bit, but your angle on it was that he had finished only half a length, beating the Big Doyen last time out at Cheltenham. The Big Doyen Syndicate took fierce offence to your comments. Now, they went on to say, basically, because you had pointed out that the form wasn't Grade 1 form, that's the bottom line of it. They said it's very disappointing to see a so-called fan of racing belittling a horse that means the world to a small syndicate like ours. And they go on there with a few screenshots, and a few other members of the syndicate got involved too. It got quite an amount of traction on Twitter. And I just wanted to bring it up with you there to see what you have to say on it, see what your thinking was behind it, and see what your thinking is now.
Yeah, so looking at the Shallow Hurdle first, I've gone back 7 years, and it's the lowest race in post rating, 144. So as you said, it's a pound better than the performance at Cheltenham, which we all know and think that it wasn't Grade 1 form. I can't see Captain T doing that in the spring festivals. Look back at, there were better winners of the Shallow Hurdle that couldn't make a splash over hurdles. Captain T could easily be a stone better over fences, and maybe he will be. But from what I've seen, and as a hurdler, he's not a Grade 1 or proper Grade 1 horse. But this is classic Paul Nicholls, like winning Grade 1s with horses that probably aren't at that level. He's the best at it, really, in England. As for the controversy on Twitter, I was accused of belittling a horse that means a lot to a small syndicate. That wasn't the case. I was pointing out the fact that the form with Captain Teague and what the Big Doyen has shown, and the fact that the Big Doyen is rated 135 by the Irish handicapper, would suggest that that's not Grade 1 form. The Big Doyen, second season novice, has had plenty of runs over hurdles as well. It took him a while to get off the mark. And if anyone believes the Big Dine is a proper Grade 1 horse, okay, fair play to you. You're in a delusional land, really. But like, it doesn't make a difference who owns the horse, whether it's a small syndicate, my neighbour back the road, or JP at Manus. Like, we're going to judge a horse on its merits on the track. And the fact is, the horse is rated 135, got £3 off Captain Teague and got beaten half length. And Captain Teague has gone and won a Grade 1.
Yeah.
So they're the crux of it. And to be honest, like, I might have called the Captain T a mutt. So like, fair enough. I think that's plenty of people on Twitter and that do podcasts. Johnny Deneen regularly call horses dogs. That's not a thing against Johnny Deneen. I have great time for him. I think he's great. I was watching the Wade In podcast. Vanessa Royal called the Home by the Lee a dog. And Kevin Blake just started laughing. Home by the Lee is a Cork man owns him, owner breeder. I don't know if he's upset over that or anything. I'll have to ask him the next time I see him. But I just think it was like, Johnny Delahaye doesn't need anyone standing up for him either on Twitter. And like, I didn't say anything negative about the Big Dine. I spoke in facts that this is what his form is. And if we have to alter our opinions because someone is going to get offended that their horse is mentioned as not a Grade 1 horse, which is what I said, we're might as well forget what we're doing.
Yeah.
And like, the whole thing about racing and punting is built on opinions. Like, will I take on Captain Teague the next day he runs? If he runs in a Ballymore and he's a short price, place lay, hello, thank you. This is like, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think people should be getting offended over what I think or what you think, or and to be called, I think, classless, clueless, and a clown was very unfortunate to see. Like, we're
Yeah.
putting our own spare time into this, and like, we're just racing fans trying to do something we enjoy and we have a passion for. And it's unfortunate to get that kind of abuse. And like, it was effectively a hit piece. And I don't think that if a bigger podcast or a more established podcast or something had said the same thing, would they have been targeted like we were?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be inclined to agree with you. They seem to take real umbrage towards you calling Captain Teague a mutt. It's important to point out that their own horse wasn't called a mutt. It was only pointed out that their own horse had form linked in with Captain Teague. And I thought that the words were, I think what you were saying was really taken out of context. Really taken out of context. And it wasn't, they depicted something different, that you were going after a syndicate, a small syndicate, and the fact they loved the horse, and that I think they were playing on the heartstrings there of people, really. And they were, I just don't think that their horse was overly involved early in the conversation, and I just think they've blown everything out of proportion.
Yeah, but
And it was a
the
bit
fact of the
needed.
matter is, as I said, it doesn't make a difference if it's a small syndicate or JP. Like, the horse had formed tying in with the horse that I thought a Grade 1 was, has won a very weak Grade 1. That's a fact. That's a direct form line to Irish racing and to what the Irish handicapper has given a horse.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Irish handicapper, not we're going chasing.
take it up with the Irish handicapper.
Yeah, okay, look, we won't dwell on it anymore. That puts a line in the sand for us on it anyway. But Killian, that wraps up this week. Thanks very much to everybody for listening. I hope you had a great Christmas. It's regrettable that we were a small bit late in joining you after Christmas. We would have liked to have this out a bit sooner, but one thing led to another and we couldn't. So thanks for being patient with us. And as I said, Killian will probably have an anti-post video out maybe this week.
I wonder
I'll
who the
see.
horse is. We'll never know.
I'll see
Fucking
if
idiot.
I'll have one out the following week. But as I said, now we're at the right side of Christmas, looking towards Cheltenham. Everything is going to be a lot more Cheltenham focused, and indeed Dublin Racing Festival focused. But we will be keeping a close eye on the markets and the racing, and one thing will lead to another, and hopefully we get to Cheltenham in a good position.
And we
So,
did book the flights and accommodation for Cheltenham this week as well.
oh
So
yeah, that's
it
crucial.
definitely, yeah, it's a big one, like the full week over there as well. So
Yeah,
it
Monday to Saturday.
makes it feel a bit more. It's coming, isn't it? When you have the
Yeah,
flights booked and the accommodation paid for,
yeah.
makes a
Yeah,
big difference.
it's
You're
savage.
on the home straight then.
We are indeed. We're on the home straight. A couple more hurdles to jump, but we'll get there. Lads, for this week, that's all from us. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
It's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore, Racing's golden duo! Tiger Roll joins the greats and beats Magic of Light. Best behaviour on the near side with the wettest of saves for Danny Brown and